Episode 115, Favorite Music Plugins with Aaron Grubb. Hey, this is Daniel, and you're listening to the Visionary Variety Podcast. This week I'm going to have as a guest of the episode my new friend Aaron Grubb. He's a music producer, also a photographer and videographer like me, and in this episode we're going to talk about our favorite music-making plugins for synthesizers and samplers and all that geeky stuff to make music. We're going to talk a little bit about the programs that we use to construct our songs. Also, we're going to get to learn a little bit more about Aaron and his music. All right, well, let's get to it. Aaron, first of all, I want to give you a big thanks for joining us on the episode.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Now, tell us, first of all, where are you right now? Where are you from and what do you do?
Well, I'm from Walla Walla, Washington.
That's fun to say.
Yeah, but I'm an hour away at my parents' house in Burbank, Washington.
Okay.
But in Walla Walla, I do photography and videography and take care of my 3 kids and all that kind of stuff.
Now, how is the quarantine and shutdowns and all that affecting your daily life over there?
Barely. Well,
Nice.
as far as staying home and stuff goes, because I'm home with the kids so much. But other than that, that's part of the reason I'm here in Burbank is that my wife needs to work from home, and we don't have an office or anything for her to work in. So I've taken the kids to my parents' house in Burbank and just hanging out here doing the kids' homework and all that.
You mean having 3 kids in the house is not conducive for working at home?
Having 1 kid in the house is not conducive for working at home.
I hear you. Yeah, I have, oddly enough, I've lost hours of free time now that I'm at home, quote unquote, working from home.
I've barely gotten any of my photography work done. I have some stuff to do and barely gotten anything done.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, so let's talk about our music. What kind of music do you make?
Well, that's a hard question. Right now I'm focusing on more like neoclassical, but I also play around with some synthy stuff. So I'm interested in synthwave and more cinematic sounds as well.
Same.
So I might play with synths, but I might add some like strings and stuff to it as well.
I like the contrast. I like when musicians can really use both worlds in one song. That always catches my ear.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I've been trying to develop recently is like challenge myself, be like, oh, now use these electronic beats, but then like throw in some of these arpeggios with the strings or something.
Yeah, that's nice. Awesome. So how long have you been making music?
Well, oh goodness. So it was when I was like 5, I begged my parents to get a piano and I started piano lessons when I was 6. So a long time, but how long have I been making good music? I don't know. I would say I kind of started in January making what I would consider better music.
Wow.
Yeah,
Awesome.
so I mean, I took a long break from it, like a few years, just like sold my guitar and my keyboard and all that kind of stuff, and just took a long break. And then I came back strong, and around December I started playing around. And
isn't that weird how hiatuses do that to you?
Yeah, man, I can't believe it, actually.
What got you into music and producing tracks the way you do now?
As long as I've been interested in music, since I was 5 or 6, I've been interested in, like movie music and orchestration. When I was living in Montana, I actually like begged one of the professors at the university that I was not going to. I was not even going to the university. I went and talked to him and like asked him to teach me orchestration.
Oh my gosh.
That didn't work out, but
No.
It almost did. I think I had to work during the wrong hours or something for him. I don't know. Anyway, I've always been in love with, the idea of orchestration and orchestral instruments, as well as the other side, the electronic stuff.
And do you like the storytelling aspect of instrumental music? Is that something that really draws you?
Yeah, that's a hard question for me because I'm not exactly how to answer that. But like sometimes when people say storytelling and I'm trying to wrap my head around that, like my brain doesn't quite get it. But then when I'm hearing other people's music, I'm like, oh yeah, I totally get how that's telling a story.
There's been times where we're playing a scene in a movie, watching with our kids. My kids are all 7 and younger. And there's a moment that may be interpreted as scary or intense for, the 5 or the 3-year-old. So what we'll do is we'll just turn the music down and it makes it way less scary.
Nice. Yeah. Definitely.
And it really reminds me, man, music is so important in movies. in TV. It's just like it's a huge portion of the emotional storytelling that happens in our brain. What we hear.
Yeah. Okay. Well, when you say something about watching movies with your kids, that actually makes me want to answer that question a little differently. Like, so when I'm thinking of a scene in my mind, like maybe I'm making up a story or something, then I'll be like, ooh, yeah, French horns right there, or or maybe some discordant strings or something. So yeah,
Different musical techniques.
yeah, in that way, like I guess I feel it, but I like when I'm trying to be intellectual about it, it doesn't work. So maybe that's a better way to answer that for myself.
Maybe that's because you're a real musician. You play from the heart, not from the
right.
the books.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. So let's talk about goals for your music. What is something you would like to achieve or do with your music?
Oh gosh. Well, I mean, I do want to continuously improve. I mean, that's kind of cliche, but one of my end goals is just to support myself with money I make from music, and I'm on my way to doing that. And if you want to know some details there, I can share what I've been doing on that back end. But I do want to get better at writing like for specific things. Like my brother's roommate actually makes like documentaries.
They need good music.
Yeah. So like,
it's really important.
If he contacted me and wanted me to make the soundtrack, I would want to be able to do that. I'm interested in also making some like wedding music for like videographers to license.
Nice.
So I have a song. I think I may have shared it with you, but I just challenged myself to make a cliche wedding video song, and I totally nailed it. So if you haven't heard it, I'll have to share it with you. But
cliche wedding music, there's a market for that.
It's almost cheesy, but not quite.
Do you have a dream project, like a big dream that you would love to do, like get hired by Christopher Nolan or something like that?
Yeah, that would crush me with fear.
Yes, yes, it would.
Yeah, so I might just bail out of that one. But I mean, I wouldn't mind taking baby steps to get there.
Yeah.
But I feel like I don't quite have the skills to take on a big project. But I would love to get there. I would love to get there for sure.
Yeah. Now, this is something I'm sure listeners are curious about. Where can we find your music?
All right. Well, I am prepared to answer that question.
It's an easy one.
Yeah. Well, go to Instagram at Aaron Grubb Music. That's at AARONGRUBB Music. In the bio, there is a Linktree link that will give you a list of places like Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music, and all of those things, even ones from around the world, like one called Yandex from Russia that I'd never heard of before. I go through a thing called CD Baby, a site called CD Baby that distributes everywhere. So anyway, so that's the easiest way I think you could do it, is just to go to Instagram.
I like Linktree as well. I use it for my photography. I just realized a few months ago, I was like, I have way too many outlets that they each have their purpose, but some of them are kind of out there, like my 3D art and my podcast are not photography, but someone might be into that. So I like those websites that kind of link you, kind of put all your links in one place. So that's cool. I hope our listeners will go and check that out and kind of get an idea of what your sound is as we maybe after or before we continue with the rest of this episode. So let's get on with it. Let's talk about first our software systems that we use, and then after that we'll talk about all the plugins, most of which are free. There are some paid ones, and then we'll talk about some hardware as well. So software, what have you used? What do you love? And let's talk about that.
I started maybe when I was 14 or something using, well, I think it was probably Cool Edit Pro back then, but Adobe bought it and made it into Adobe Audition. But that shows how old I am. But I used that for a long time because I was mainly, like analog audio kind of guy. I'd mic my guitar or my amp or whatever. After I took a long break from that stuff, I decided to try out Ableton again because I didn't get it the first time. And I finally got into it. There's like this threshold you have to break through to really understand a program like that. But then I started making music and it just took off. So
yeah, Ableton is really powerful. And I love that it's not just good for studio recording. It can also do live performance stuff.
Right.
It's a really versatile program and they made it like that from the get-go, seems like. But I also use Ableton. I had bought it when it was version 5 way back when I was in high school.
Ooh,
And I also bought Reason 3. I think it was Reason 3 at the time.
right. Yeah, that was really popular.
Yeah, that's a cool program too, and it's come a long ways now. It actually has audio stuff in it, which they just were like resisting that for years. It was just their built-in synths and nothing else. But no, you can do audio production. I think you can import things, and there's a lot way more flexible now. But Reason is really good for sounds and just a good alternative to Ableton. Although I believe Ableton's much more open, much more industry standard now. But I actually use them in tandem. When I made music, I had parts of it were made in Reason for the parts that I liked for Reason stuff, and then I had other parts in Ableton using VSTs and samples because they kind of each had their strengths. So I used them together with Rewire, which connects them with time and audio. Pretty cool technology there. But now I'm strictly Ableton. I use a lot of VSTs, which we'll get to in a bit. I have a ginormous sample library that I've built up over the years. Most, pretty much all of them are free. Just like every time I see a free thing online, if it's good, if I need it, I'll grab it and add it to my library. And that's growing. Probably about 10 gigs now of quality stuff. But yeah, I like Ableton. I think I've got version 9 Suite.
Nice.
And it's great. Do you have 10 or 9, or what are you using?
I have 10. It's not intro, is it? It's the $100 one.
I don't know what they call it.
I think it's intro. If it's Live Lite, I think it's the free one that you get with stuff. But I got intro, which is $100. You get more ability to do more tracks. Yeah.
Yeah, you can actually get Ableton 10 full version for free. I think for 90 days, 60 or 90 days.
Oh yeah, yeah. I have that right now.
Oh, good. If anyone's out there that wants to play with these plugins that are the free ones, you can do that also for free if you download a VST host. So a VST is a plugin file or set of files that allows you to make sound, do effects, play samples, a range of things. But there is a free VST host that I found online called Cantabile Lite. That's Cantabile Lite. And there's some others out there, but Cantabile seemed pretty well-rounded. It looked easy to use and had a good reputation. So don't take my word for it, but if you really want to play with these synthesizers and have fun at home, you can get a cheap MIDI controller for about $50. Plug it in, get a free host, download some of these plugins, and then go to town. Okay, so let's talk about our actual plugins. So I'm going to let you go first since you are our guest. I had my name first here on the outline, but I'm going to put you first here. So why don't you tell us first about your instruments that you like to use? What's their names? What do you love them for?
Okay, well, since I'm doing a little bit of synthy stuff right now, but I'm focusing more on the neoclassical and cinematic stuff. I'm going to be talking a lot more about those right now. But first of all, I'm going to tell you, I don't know if it was you, Dan, that told me about it or somebody else, or if I just was Googling somewhere, but Spitfire Labs, holy cow.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah, so as far as acoustic instruments and some other things go, Spitfire is an amazing company, and they have some really expensive stuff. But they have a whole page of free stuff, and I mainly use their strings, and gosh, I'd have to open up.
I like their soft piano. It's very
dreamy. Yes. The first 2 songs I put on Spotify were like it was let me see, what was I using? I was using the short strings and the long strings. So within that string, that one string when there's short and long. Like the would be long, and then the arpeggios with the short.
Yeah.
So that and the soft piano and a few of the other sounds. Actually, you know what? I think one of the 2, maybe if it was "Fix You," my cover song of "Fix You." I may have exclusively used Spitfire Audio Labs.
Nice. You could totally use that for like a 16-track thing. There's so many sounds, and they're all so good.
Yeah, and they're all free. super good,
super free.
Yeah. So maybe I can't be sure, but I'm pretty sure it's "Fix You." So go listen to "Fix You," and listen to all those sounds, and think about what you can make with that, because it's endless when you're talking about that kind of music anyway. Some people out there just want to hear about the synths, but I'll get on to the next one so I don't spend too long on that amazing Spitfire Labs. The next one I'm going to tell you about is a sampler. I think it was originally made by Cakewalk or something. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure, but now I think it's by Plogue or something like that. I'm sure we'll have links in the show notes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So the sampler is called Sforzando, and I believe you can program your own stuff in there, but like mapping your samples and all that. But when I was searching for free stuff, I found a ton of free Sforzando instruments. So I found like this really nice violin. I found this whole collection, like this whole symphonic collection of sounds.
Nice.
Some free pianos. See, that's one of the first things I was looking for free. I was just scouring the internet for a free piano. I mean, one that actually sounded good.
Yeah.
I think I actually noted it down here, maybe a little farther down.
Yeah.
So
I saw you listed it earlier. Basilica pianos.
yeah, it was Michael
Yeah.
Pitcher. He puts out a bunch of stuff. So he put out some free versions of these pianos that sound really nice. But then
Yeah, I got them yesterday.
oh, nice.
Thanks to you.
Yeah, and then the one I bought was just $20.
Nice.
It's just so cheap that it was like, why? I mean, if you have $20, I mean, I've been in a place many times in my life where I'm like, $20, that's hilarious. I'm not buying that. But
Yes. Now these are all in sound font format, right?
yeah,
Yeah, SFZ, and they're playing off the classical term.
yes,
But a sound font is a single file, but inside of it, I think is like zipped or compressed a number of audio files that are the audio file for each note of an instrument. Maybe not all the notes, but most of the notes. And they're all mapped out so that as you play them in the Sforzando plugin or other similar sound font players, which there's a bunch of them, it maps it all out for you, and you can play each note just like you're playing on a keyboard. So that's for quick and short. That's what a sound font is, and that's what's going on with this plugin.
yeah. I'm glad you said that, because I probably wouldn't have been able to explain that very well.
I don't know what level of musicians we have listening to this, so I'm just going to break
Right.
it down for them just in case.
Okay, so the next one doesn't have a ton of free things, but it's made by Magix with an X. Ooh, yeah, it's
X
kind
is
of
making so much cooler.
That feels kind of 90s. But the program is called Independence, and it's free, and it comes with a whole bunch of sounds. The main one I have used is the nylon string guitar, and usually I shy away from nylon string guitars in like electronic format because they sound so cheesy.
Yeah.
But this one is like, wow, it's so good. I don't want to keep on pointing you to my music, like just over and over again, to listen to that song, listen to that song. But if you feel like hearing this nylon string guitar in action, go listen to my song Reverie, and it sounds like nobody has figured out that it's not real. I mean, because most of the people like listening know that I play the guitar anyway, so they just think that I am a fantastic audio engineer because it sounds so good.
You play those 64th note arpeggios so good.
Yeah. I didn't know you knew how to play Flight of the Bumblebee. Anyway, so that nylon string guitar, just put some reverb on it, and it just sounds amazing. Anyway, so like I was accidentally making cool sounds with it. Like if you play it just in the right way, it slides up to the next note.
Oh, I love that.
It's like, wow. Yeah, I mean, it sounds incredible. Anyway, so that's the only instrument within that I've used, but there's a bunch that come with it. I think there's a piano and a steel string guitar and some what do you call it, ethnic instruments from around the world. Anyway, I think that's enough about Independence.
It's hard to find a good guitar sample pack or even synth, so that's good to hear that there's a good one out there that you approve of as a guitar player.
Yeah. Okay, so the next one I want to talk about is actually a website that has tons and tons and tons of free stuff.
Yay.
The catch is you have to have the full version of Contact to use them for more than 30 minutes at a time.
I saw that. I was like, oh man, the Contact.
Yeah. So if you download the free Contact player, you can try out all of them, and you could probably get some recording done if you have the patience to like restart it, which I don't. Yeah, like me and Dan have kids, so we don't like want to waste our time restarting programs.
Yeah.
So anyway, so pianobook.co.uk. I believe the guy who started it or runs it or whatever is part of Spitfire Audio. But holy cow, there's a ton of like a ton of free pianos that sound. There's some of them are more experimental. Some are the felted pianos, like the soft piano, and some are just like regular pianos. But there's also a ton of other like stringed instruments and like anything you can imagine, like miking. I also found a guy named Dan Keene who has a great YouTube channel. You should check it out. He has been making some virtual instruments. One being his viola,
Ooh.
and he's layered this thing with this beautiful reverb and effects on there, and it just sounds like a dream. But once again, it's it's part of that piano book community where a lot of them are contact instruments, so you can only use it for a half hour. But if you have a Mac and you use Logic, you can use his EXS file his original version of it. I think he and somebody else converted it to Contact, and then they also somebody unrelated converted his viola one. It's called Soft Spring Spurs. Sorry, I didn't mention that. Somebody converted it into a Ableton format. But when I downloaded the free 90-day, I was unable to use it, so I have no idea if it works or not. If you can learn a little bit of programming, you could actually map that to Sforzando, but cool. I don't know how to do that. I was trying to teach myself, but I just didn't have enough time. I hope eventually we can make that into a Sforzando instrument, because it would be amazing. I love that sound of it so much. I think the number one synth that I use is the Tyrell N6.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have as many sound as Dext, or however you want to pronounce that. The DX, is it DX7?
Yeah, it's emulating the DX7.
Yeah. Okay, so I think I just love the quality of some of the sounds in the Tyrell, and I've just used those over and over. And you know, like that da 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 that you hear in like Stranger Things.
Tron.
Yeah, yes, exactly, like those iconic 80s sounds. That's what I use to make those sounds, and some of the pads and stuff.
I found a drawback to Tyrell. I tried to recently reinstall it, and it, like in the coding of the installer, it has to install it to a certain directory on your C drive, but all my stuff's on my D drive, and it won't let me, it doesn't give you the option. So I move it, but then the code is still looking for C. I'm like, no, you're on D. Stop being dumb. So maybe I can write them about that. It's like built into the coding. There's no option to change it. I have used it before, and I liked it.
Yeah. Anyway, I really like that one. I have Dext as well. I just haven't. Well, maybe it's because I haven't been doing as much synth
stuff. A lot of work. Dext is a lot.
It's
huge modular.
Exactly. So that's why another reason I haven't used it as much. But there is a workaround for that. If you go find a download pack, I can't remember what it's called, but it's like you just look for the specific words. Yeah, like yes, yeah, exactly. Dext preset download or something. You can download like 1,000 presets or something, which is actually, it might be counterproductive if you're searching through 1,000 presets.
Yeah.
But also there is Tunefish, which you shared with me.
Great.
I think I need to find some more presets for that. But I really like one of those first ones that come up. It's like a bassy kind of similar to my favorite sound on the Tyrell, but I think I like the Tyrell's better for that specific sound. But Tunefish has some good sounds as well. It's good to have a variety of these things, because if they're free, so one has a good sound you're looking for at one time, and the other one has a good sound with the other thing that you're looking for. The one thing I would say about some of these free presets is that, like, I downloaded, like when I first started talking to you about these free synths, I downloaded like 200 different plugins just for like synths and stuff, and it feels like half of them didn't actually show up in Ableton. And somebody said it might be like a 32 versus 60 bore.
Ableton now cannot use 32-bit plugins, which like almost all the plugins 5 years old and older are.
Oh. Yeah.
So it's tough. Then now here's a workaround. Maybe you don't know about this. Have you heard of JBridger or JBridge?
I think somebody recently, like within the last week, actually mentioned that, and I was like, "Oh, that sounds cool."
Yeah. So JBridge is a plugin you can buy. It's like $20 one-time payment, and what it does is it converts, like upconverts, kind of like your 32-bit plugins, and makes them 64-bit, and they'll work. So you open the program, you tell it to look in this directory of all your 32-bit plugins. You tell it to, export to 64-bit, like either into the same folder or into a new 64-bit folder, and it does it, and they work seamlessly. So
Sweet.
there you go. You can use your 15-year-old plugins now, or 1-year-old.
Now I can pay $20 to discover whether I want to use those or not.
Yes, exactly.
I guess now I could talk about some of my favorite paid ones. Yeah. So I recently bought a Native Instruments A61 keyboard.
Nice.
And part of the reason I got that keyboard over some of the others was to get into the Native Instruments ecosystem, because I just love some of their software. But
yeah, they make some good stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess you could just get Contact Player with another keyboard and buy some of these, but I got some of them for free with the keyboard. So
nice.
My favorite piano now is the Gentleman. Mm-hmm. It's an upright piano, which I found myself over and over again gravitating towards upright pianos. That's what I grew up with, this like 1909 beautiful upright piano that my parents got for like $300 or something. But it was a beautiful piano. Anyway, so the Gentleman kind of reminds me of my childhood piano because you can really dial in that felt sound. So like for people that don't know what I'm talking about, in my piano that I grew up with, there is this line of felt on this board that goes in between the hammers and the strings.
Oh, interesting.
So when you press this certain pedal, it lowers it into in the way, and it makes this soft,
the softened pedal.
Beautiful sound. Anyway, so the Gentleman, you don't have an extra pedal to do that. You just dial it towards the soft end, and it doesn't get as soft as the soft piano from Spitfire Audio, but I often don't want it to go that far. But just this overall sound of it is gorgeous. So any of my listen here, I'm gonna do it again. Go listen to Ocean Eyes. That was all the Gentleman.
Awesome.
But the other piano that I got for free before I got the Gentleman with the keyboard. So I bought this old was it a Novation Launch Key keyboard for like $50 on like Facebook Marketplace. And I needed to fix the drivers, so I contacted the company, and they just gave me access to all of the things that come with the keyboard.
What?
So Novation's cool. So I mean, maybe that's a pitch for them. Just like they're a cool company. They I told them it was used, and they gave me access to the whole thing.
Nice.
What's it called? XLN Audio is the company that was partnered with Novation. You get to pick. I got to pick between a couple of the pianos, an electric piano, and maybe some drums or something. I can't remember, but I chose, since I was looking for a good piano.
You have a collection.
Yes, I do have a collection now.
Piano man.
But yeah, so here's another upright. It was the Addictive Keys Modern Upright that I got from them, and you can choose from like 8 different miking positions and stuff. It's
cool. Is that like a standalone VST? How does this work?
It's a VST, so you don't have to install anything else, which is good.
Right.
I'm a big fan of that. Yeah, like with the Gentleman, I have to launch Contact. So
and then open that.
Yeah, that big thing. But so Addictive Keys is just a standalone thing. But if you have a Novation keyboard and you haven't cashed in on those things, go do that. It's a beautiful piano. My other not cheap favorite thing right now is the Genesis Children's Choir.
Was this recorded in like a church or something of like is it actual choir?
Yeah, dude. Like they actually have the pictures from like the children being mic'd up and directed and stuff.
Oh, cool.
This is like a professional children's choir. Like this isn't like what you and I probably grow up with like the children's choirs in like Christian music and stuff. This is like they would sing with like a Philharmonic, like New York, that's how good they are.
These kids don't play around. They're serious.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
They're professional kids.
They are, man. Holy cow. Like when I heard this cause I was looking for a choir. I always want a choir, in my, collection. But when I heard that, I was just like, Uh,
Make some
yeah,
creepy horror music with that, please.
yeah. Well,
Something
no,
minor.
it like it made me feel the feels, that kind
Yeah.
of like. But they do have some preset things in there that would be amazing for horror films. Like some detuning. They call it like aleatoric something. I don't know. It's something technical. But anyway, gosh, I guess I haven't released anything with that on it. But I think you'll be blown away. Did you listen to that one clip I sent you?
No, I haven't yet. That's in there?
Yeah,
Oh, okay, cool.
it's in Messenger, not in Drive.
Oh, okay. I can't wait to listen to it.
It's beautiful. Maybe I should hand it over to you now that I have talked for a long time.
No, no, those are some great suggestions there. I hope some people will actually take this episode and use it and go get that stuff. Okay, so mine are mostly synthesizers. Well, okay, they're all synthesizers because I like electronic music. I love real instruments. Don't get me wrong. I love all the stuff you're talking about. I love movie music. I love symphonies. When it's played in the real world, it's just I don't know, something's magical about it. But I also like synthesizers and techno and trance.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm kind of coming from. Kind of sort of a different angle than some of your music. So the first one on my list is Synth One. Now this plugin has been around for years. Like I feel like this is one of the original VSTs that went around. And I honestly didn't like it for many years. I was like, oh, this plugin's like so basic, it can't do anything cool. I don't think I played around with it enough. I didn't try out enough of the presets. But in researching for this episode a while back, I went back to it and I was like, oh my, okay, I've been missing out because this Synth One plugin is great. It's just a good all around synthesizer. It can make a lot of really good trance sounds, techno sounds, key and bass, things like that. So that's a great one. It's also kind of lightweight. Next one is Superwave P8. So me getting into trance, I was always curious, how do they make those huge, fat, super saw waves that are the leads, the lead synthesizer sounds for these trance songs that are a lot of arpeggiation and chords. And it's basically made by a superwave sound, which can be generated by a number of synthesizers, but this plugin is made just for this. So Superwave, what it does is it has 7 different oscillators, and each oscillator has its own detuning knob. So the middle one of the 7 is the undetuned. It's just, it's true to the pitch. But the one to the left of it and to the right of it are below and above the pitch. And then the one to the left and right of those are a little bit more above and below the pitch. So all together, you get these 7 voices. The 3 on the left and 3 on the right are, below and then above the pitch. And it just gives us really great detuned sound. Very, very thick.
Okay. I just looked that up. I'm downloading it.
Yeah, I really liked it. And I think there's 2 oscillators that make the sound, and then those get split into 7. I'm not sure how exactly the routing works, but there's also some panning. You can do some pan left, pan right. There's some good echo effects, and yeah, it's just a really great synth. I've used it for years and years, and I think it recently got a little bit of an update. But yeah, Superwave P8 is awesome. Next one is Mini Moog, which it basically is an emulator of the Moog, not Moog. Did you know that? It's not pronounced Moog. Did you know that?
Yeah, I did.
Moog.
I am a true nerd. I know how to pronounce Moog properly.
Oh, you just was it.
I know. That's terrible.
Slip. Yeah, for years I mispronounced it. So the Mini Moog is really great. It's got just that classic mono voice lead that would be really fun to play on a guitar. There's another plugin that I'm going to say is a little better than that one. It's VK1 Viking Synthesizer. Anything with Viking in it's going to be hardcore. And,
yeah.
This plugin is really good. It's basically the Mini Moog just on steroids. There's more knobs, more controls, and I think it's more recent, so it's probably going to be a little bit more solid with the emulation and the different options. So yeah, VK1 Viking Synthesizer is awesome. Next is Arminator. This is the VST that I downloaded for the sole reason of trying to get those synthesized horns you hear in Blade Runner and old 80s like sci-fi stuff. Vangelis is the guy who made the Blade Runner soundtrack, and he loves those synth trumpets and synth French horns, and they're really good for cinema stuff if you're going for the electronic feel. So Arminator can replicate those. There's a few presets that are really good for that, but it's just good all around for vintage synthesizers. I think it's the Jupiter 6 is that classic synth, right? That was used in a lot of movies.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's a Jupiter 5 or Jupiter 6. So this is, I don't know if it's an emulation of that, but it's going for those style sounds and those style waveforms and filters. So Arminator is really solid if you want to get those classic synth sounds, especially for pads. It can also do strings and horns, like I said. So that's fun. Next is Plutonia. So this is a really small, simple little plugin, but the waveforms included in it are really interesting and really powerful. So I'm not sure if I'm using the right term, but I think this is wavetable synthesis, where there's
It
basically
sounds right. Yeah.
different waveforms that you're choosing, and the waveforms are sampled from various instruments and tones. So yeah, I really advise you download that if you like synth sounds of any kind. Get Plutonia, look through the waveforms, and just play with each one of them. They're kind of like a sample, but it's a waveform. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah.
But they're really great for making very unique tones and unique sounds. And some of them have some really cool motion to them, which is great for like pads and things like that. So yeah, Plutonia is cool. This next one I'm just totally in love with. It's one I just got like last week, and I mean you can make a whole song with this one. It's called Surge, and it's again all these are free. In case I didn't say that up front, which I didn't. They're all free. Well, okay, except for my last one, but forget that. Surge is awesome. It's a really good, again, an all-around synth that can make pretty much any sound. And man, the routing on this is insane. It's not insane in that it's hard to like figure out, but it's really versatile. So you have three oscillators, but then you have two scenes. So you have scene A and scene B, and so therefore you've got basically six oscillators. And there's a whole bunch of different FM routing options where you can do frequency modulation between two oscillators, or one to scene B, two to scene A. It's just really flexible and easy. The layout is really good. So it's not like scary and boring when you're playing with it. It's actually fun. And something I learned about myself is I would discount synthesizer plugins if I didn't like how they looked, which
Yeah.
is really like silly. But to me, like the user interface is really an important graphic element of an instrument or a software. And if it's not pretty or it's not fun to use, I just don't want to use it as much.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that made me not want to use Ableton for a while, actually.
Yeah, it's not very pretty, but you kind of get over it once you realize how awesome it is.
Yes, I
At
agree.
least that's how it happened for me. So I'm going against what I said, but yes, check out Surge. Oh, the presets are really cool. I think there's 1,000 presets included, and it's interesting because when you do the preset drop down, like the second half of the menu is full of artist names. So there's like
Hmm.
I don't know who these guys are, but apparently they're dedicated, synthesists or music producers, and they've made a number of presets for specific uses, and I like that. I feel like that just gives a little bit more credence and a little more little oomph to it. And the sounds are good.
Definitely.
Most more importantly, the sounds are great. Play with that, learn it, watch some YouTube videos. You'll thank yourself later when you can make custom sounds and do cool routing and awesome stuff. The envelopes are really, really powerful. There's like crazy options in the envelopes that I've never seen in any other synthesizer. So very flexible. Okay, I got two more. Push is one again that I found I think last week for this episode, and it's really cool because when you open it up, you got this big button. You push the button, and it makes a random preset just for you.
Wow.
Uh, you can customize it, which I like. You can go to the other panel where you can edit the settings, and you can see how it randomized it and what it did. But about 90% of the time, the random setting is actually really useful. Like I just was hitting random, and if I liked the sound, I saved it to my own preset folder, and I'd hit it again. Oh, this is cool. I'll save this as a bass. Next one, oh, that's just noise. Okay, next one, oh, this is a good lead. Things like that. So I made my own little list of presets that I liked, and of course you can tweak them and customize them. But yeah, Push is fun and it has some great sounds too. Last one, and this is a paid one, although it's only about $1.70, is Genesis Pro. It just came out like maybe a month ago. I saw it because it was touted as the £1. It's from UK, I think. So it cost £1, and in American dollars, it's like $1.80 or something like that. So or maybe it was the tax. I don't know. But yeah, so I watched the video and I was blown away by. Of course, the promo was really good, really well done. But the synth is really good. There's a lot of great sounds, good routing options. There's lots of interesting things again that I haven't seen in other synths. Like there's like soft, plucked, and hard for just the whole sound. So you can change just the overall feel or instrumentation of your synth. There's a built-in arpeggio. There's gates. There's a voice synthesizer. Lots of really cool stuff in Genesis Pro. So check that out if you want a really good, all-in-one synth. That and Surge and Synth One. I mean, can pretty much make any sound.
Yeah, I've been meaning to download that one.
I miss playing on stage because I can't use these sounds anymore. I used to play in my church's worship band in high school.
Me too.
Yeah. It's cool because I actually used Ableton for my synth engine, and what I
Nice.
did was I had about 8 or 9 MIDI channels open. Each one had a VST or a sampled instrument from Ableton in the channel. And my faders on my keyboard, I had 9 faders. Those are working as on and off switches for each MIDI channel in.
Oh,
So if I
man.
flipped a fader up, that channel was on and I could play it. So if I flipped up
Dan,
3 of them, I could layer them. It was awesome.
I could have learned so much from you at that point.
Well, I was racking my brain for months to figure out a good setup, and I figured it out. MIDI channels was the way to go.
Yeah.
But it was really fun because I could layer sounds. I had a delay. I think I had a tap tempo. It was just like a dream synthesizer, but it was all software. And people come up and like, "How does this work?" I'm like, "Well, it's kind of complicated. It's a laptop."
Yeah.
Yeah, but I miss playing on stage. But now I get every now and then I'll get an opportunity to make some music for the podcast or for a video that I make for my photography, and I just go to town. I'm like, oh, I miss making music. It's so much fun. Just takes a lot of time.
Oh, yeah.
So that's it for my plugins. Did you have any other plugins you wanted to bring up?
Not as far as instruments go. I think we're
Okay.
going to talk about effects next.
Yeah. Let's do effects. So I'm gonna go first this time, and then you can go next.
Yeah,
Switch it up.
perfect.
And
Sounds
I
good.
only got 4. It won't take too long. So my first one is called D-Blue Glitch, and there's a new version called Glitch 2. So this plugin is so cool. It basically, you put it on an audio channel, and what it does is it screws up your audio in 8 different ways. So there's one, it's kind of like a plugin of plugins. So inside of the Glitch plugin, there's like a tape slowdown. There's a bit crusher. There's a gate that does chopping of the audio. There's one that does stuttering. It's just a lot of cool little sub effects. What the plugin does is it randomizes them. Like the original version, D-Blue Glitch, you could get probability numbers to each plugin. So like I want it to glitch 20% of the time. And then I want it to do a bit crush 10% of the time. And it would just do that randomly on tempo. This sounds kind of messy, but it was quite musical actually if you set it up just right.
If it's on tempo, I'm going to be on board with this one.
Yeah, everything is totally tempo locked, which is good.
Nice.
And so, but the new version is kind of interesting. It works like a sequencer. So you set up like a 4-bar or 8-bar sequence in the plugin, and you tell it when each plugin's going to trigger, which is more control. It's less random. Really cool if you want that glitchy BT sound or do like some dubstep type, weird stuff. So there's that. Next one is the Classic Effects series. So this is a series of like 7 or 8 different plugins that, all the basic effects like compressor, reverb, echo. And I just like them. They're simple. They're very lightweight. And they get the job done. And I like them. I really like their auto filter too. It's got a really cool like filter mode that jumps around on tempo. And that's really fun for some motion and organic sounds. Next one is Oril River 4. That's ORIL River 4. This is a reverb plugin that's beautiful. It just sounds so real and so smooth. And there's like crap ton of options. A lot of good tweakability here and really good presets. So if you want to throw that on top of some real instruments, you'll be good to go. And just give your track some space and some room. Make it sound real. My last one is the A1 Trigger Gate, and again, I'm a huge trance fan. I love trance. I love those rapid motion and arpeggio synths. And A1 Trigger Gate is the best gate plugin I've found that's free that can do trance gating, and there's a lot of cool options too. You can actually shift the time of your plugin as it does these chopping gates to your track. You can shift it forwards or backwards, which is good because sometimes the effect is so intense that your audio card can't quite keep up with it. So it's actually off tempo. So you can shift it. You can compensate plus or minus 50%, which is great. So I basically, I'll play it. And I was like, oh yeah, it's not actually on tempo. So I shift it forwards or backwards and get it on, and then I'm good to go. But there's like attack and release of your gate, triplets and, jumping, things like that. So you can give some really cool motion if you want a good gated synthesizer sound. That's it for my plugins. What do you got for your effects, Aaron?
I'm sorry to say, my first one here has a catch. But it also is something that you should watch out for, like throughout the year, especially during the holidays. During the holidays this last Christmas season, what's that company? Arturia. They released a free reverb, and for some reason that didn't work for me. So I was excited when the Native Instruments one came out, which is RAUM, the RAUM reverb, which is amazing.
Sounds very German.
Yeah, it does. Maybe I just did a French accent. I don't know. But it's super good. I've been using it on everything. But at the same time, their supercharger compressor was also free. So I
Cool.
downloaded that and I used that a lot.
It's a good holiday.
Yeah,
Two free
yeah, and
plugins.
yeah, and there were some other companies giving away free stuff too. So,
Hmm. I didn't know they did
so
that. That's good.
yeah, so definitely get on, like, follow cool people that make
Yeah.
a lot of music on like Instagram and Facebook,
uh,
and get on their email lists and all that kind of stuff around the holidays, and
let
you'll
them
get,
spam you.
yeah, you'll get for a limited time. Let them spam you, and you'll get some
Yes.
free stuff. So, so yeah, I got those for free. And I guarantee you, next year you'll find some company giving away some cool free stuff. Anyway, I'm sorry if that's not free right now. But the next one is an EQ. It's Sonimus Sun EQ. I was looking for a good EQ that just worked for me, like nothing special. I wasn't looking for an amazing equalizer or anything. I just wanted something that would be quick and easy and would work. And I saw this one on one of those like top 10 articles or something.
Hmm.
And I've just been throwing it on a bunch of tracks recently, and it, I just dial it and it works. I don't have to mess
Yeah,
with it.
it looks pretty simple. There's not a whole lot to it.
Yeah,
Low, mid, high.
it's just a few dials. It's not like one of those
Hmm.
graphic ones or anything.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was that. And then I wanted to say I've really enjoyed a bunch of the Ableton built-in stuff.
Hmm.
Sometimes they're not as customizable as I'd like,
Yeah.
but I've been using the delay on synths and piano. Don't underestimate the plugins that come with your software.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely learn to use those first before you start looking for other stuff.
Yeah, because there could be some really great stuff hidden in there. I still haven't discovered everything Ableton can do. So
Awesome. So let's close out this episode with a little bit of talk about hardware. So you mentioned you use the A61 keyboard. Are there any features about that you particularly like? Do you like how the keys feel, or what do you love about that keyboard?
oh gosh, the some of the buttons, like it has like a lot of keyboards have the like play, record, stop, and all those kind of buttons, but they have on the Native Instruments keyboards, they have like a quantize button
Mm.
and some other multi-controller kind of,
Hmm.
I don't want to call it a joystick, but there's this multi-controller knob that you can press on it and you can push it up, down, left, right,
Cool.
and then you can twist it and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, and it seamlessly works with multiple programs. Like when I open up certain instruments in Contact, like there's 8 knobs and they all are mapped
Oh, nice.
to
Love it.
the,
And labeled.
yeah, but it's also mapped perfectly to Ableton without doing anything.
Hmm.
So I can use my multi-controller thing to switch tracks and do this and
Oh,
that,
cool.
and quantize and do all sorts of fancy stuff without touching the mouse
Nice.
or whatever. But the keys also do feel really great.
Yeah.
The build quality is nice. I mean, even though it is plastic, it still feels nice.
Good plastic. Not the cheap
Yeah,
stuff.
good plastic. Yeah,
Anything over 250 is going to be good quality.
yeah,
That's a
yeah.
general go-to for what MIDI controllers, I feel. Have you used any other controllers?
Oh yeah. I think earlier I mentioned the Novation launch key that I had. I
Hmm.
recently just sold that and bought the Native Instruments one. The launch key 49 is what I had, that I got for $50 on Facebook. I think it was because it was the older model, but like it just didn't, like I would have to manually map the controls to things,
Hmm.
like, and it wouldn't remember it. So I'd have to,
That's
if I
annoying.
wanted something, I would have to remap it. Except the drum pads. The drum pads were great. I didn't mind. I just ended up just using it as a keyboard. It was fine. Did everything I needed it to do.
Hmm.
So definitely, I mean, we're talking about free and cheap stuff. Just go buy a cheap used keyboard if you need one.
Yeah, you can get them so cheap from people that don't want them anymore because they moved on to something bigger.
Yeah, I mean,
Usually.
even if you need to spend, even if it's just like $15 on a 25 key keyboard, it
Hmm.
might be totally worth it for the time being. I made a whole song by clicking the mouse on each note
Oh my
I
gosh.
wanted,
Insanity.
and that's tedious. So get a keyboard.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of my drawbacks of my music production in the past few years is I haven't had my keyboard set up. I've been doing it all through the sequencer, making the programming in the chords and notes and whatever and letting it play. And I don't like that. It doesn't feel right. And it's just not a good way to make music, not original stuff.
Yeah, you
And
can't feel the music when you're
yeah.
clicking note, note, note.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I can't just play like I know how to play with the adding the extra keys and things like that. Not the same. So I finally set up my keyboard to just get over that. And I didn't set up because my kids always hog it, but I finally have a office with a lock, so
Oh,
I'm
nice.
I'm
I
good.
envy you. Yeah.
Yes, it's much
Mine
needed.
is my office for photography, videography, and music is the dinner table. So,
Oh, that's scary. That's scary.
yeah, it's bad.
So for myself, I've gone through a few controllers on my day. I've used a total of 3 different controllers. I started with one called it was from M Audio, and it was called the Ozonic 49. It was so cool. It was kind of the big brother to the Oxygen, which was their really big like entry level keyboard. It got them real popular. But the Ozonic was awesome because it had an audio interface built into it, which was like
Oh,
amazing. So it had I think it was like an XLR input. It had 4 quarter-inch inputs, which could be 2 stereo inputs or
goodness.
4 monos. Yeah, and it was all in one. But the weird thing was, it was it wasn't USB. It was
Oh,
FireWire.
Firewire?
Yeah,
Yeah.
remember that? Remember the old days?
Yeah. Everybody was saying how much better than USB it was.
Yeah, and then where are they now? Uh, but it was a 6-pin FireWire, so
Huh.
not the tiny one, not mini FireWire, but the full size one. So I had to get like a special thing to plug it into my my laptop, which was a pain. But it was worth it because that keyboard was really cool, and having that audio interface built in was really cool because it allowed me to preview. So basically, I had a monitor feed from the soundboard, and when I played at church, and that feed had all the monitors in it. But so I plugged that into my input for my headphones mix, and I could crossfade between that versus my keyboard signal going out.
Oh, nice.
And it was awesome. It was almost like an in-ear right there. But so I like that. Also, of course, I can record stuff, which I did a few times. The best thing about having an auto interface, whether it's in your keyboard or not, it's basically it speeds things up. You have almost no latency if you get a good
Oh,
interface.
yeah.
So right now I'm using my laptop built-in sound card, which is not great. And it's almost not real time. Like as I play, I've got it down to I think 20 milliseconds of delay, which is just barely like audible. But if you get an interface, it's just things are faster and more reliable.
Okay, so if anybody already using these programs and interfaces and stuff is having any latency issues, go get a free plugin
Mhm.
for your computer called ASIO for all,
Oh yeah.
ASIO for all. Get that, and that will solve your latency issues one way or the other.
Yeah, it gets it to almost zero. And I think there's some issue with it right now on my computer. So I would be using that. I have it, but I don't remember. There's a good reason why I'm not using it because maybe it's problematic right now. But I've used that in the past, and yeah, it gets the latency down to nothing.
It can interfere with the way you do other audio related things on your computer, so
Yeah.
that might be part of it.
Yeah, I normally would turn that on when I'm in Ableton and no lag, no bit crushy weird stuff going on when there's too many things going on. So I use Ozonic for a long time. I still have it, but I probably can't really use it because the FireWire connection.
Oh yeah.
And then I moved on to an Edirol PCR 500. I think it's a 500. It's got 66 keys. So that was nice. It had some decent controls, some drum pads and sliders. That's when I used the on and off for the patch layering when I played. So I had
Hmm.
that as my main keyboard. Then I had my Ozonic above it for more
Oh,
synthy
nice.
sounds. Yeah, so my top one was for like synth sounds, and my bottom was for more natural standard sounds, like piano, strings, Rhodes, all that stuff. And then I also have acquired a launch pad from I think it's M Audio or Novation launch Novation
I
launch
think it
pad.
is Novation. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
is it like a it has
it's
drum
the
pads
first
on it and
one.
stuff?
Yeah, it's the very first most basic one they have.
Oh wow.
But what I want to do with it is, and if you're not aware of these controllers, it's a drum pad controller. So it's got 8x8 pads, so 64 little square pad buttons, and you can use them to trigger all kinds of stuff. I have a program that can turn MIDI into keyboard shortcuts. So I'm going to make some kind of custom overlay to put on top of all these buttons, and this is going to be my Photoshop control board and or
Yes.
Lightroom and anything else I want. So
Nice.
I just need to find this overlay. I don't know if there's like a clear plastic, like thick thing that can slap on top of these buttons that I can write on without writing on the buttons. Because that would be awesome. I can have all my Photoshop tools on each button and just that would be my left hand. My right hand will be on my stylus. I'll never touch my laptop again.
That's pretty
That'd be
sweet. You
great.
could trigger all of your actions and stuff.
Yeah, actions in Lightroom. I can use it for my editing for the faders and sliders.
Oh man.
Switching modules. That would be such a time saver. But when I find that overlay, I'll let everyone know because that'll be awesome. Yeah, so that's it for my controllers. Anything else worth bringing up?
So I wanted to bring up something for some people that might be industrious, or some of those really creative people that also might be technical, that might know some programming languages and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I've been meaning for a long time to figure out this software called Heise, or HISE. I don't know if you just say Heise or what, but it's a free software that you can use to build VSTs,
Oh,
basically.
cool.
Yeah, so you have to learn a little bit of programming, and there's a bit of a learning curve. I tried to learn it, and I just didn't have time. So same with Sforzando. I mean, I think Sforzando is a little more simple, but that's because it works within Sforzando. Like, it's not like with Heise, you're actually building a VST that will work without Heise. So if somebody wants to check that out, it's just HISE.
Cool.
But if you have Logic, you can build stuff within Logic.
Huh.
With their the EXS programs or whatever. It's like a VST.
That's what that is.
But, yeah, but
I was curious what that is.
I just wanted to throw something out there for free for people that are better than me at things like programming. That maybe they could do something super cool with between Heise and Sforzando.
Yeah, cool. I'm glad you brought that up. I actually have a friend of mine that took a college course in synthesis, and he's like, "Yeah, we made an FM synthesizer today in class." It's like, "Oh my gosh, that's so cool!"
Like hardware or software?
Software.
Yeah.
So
Either way, it's
really
cool.
Be into this. Yeah. All right. Well, as we close out this episode, please remind us, where can our listeners find your music online one more time?
Well, if you go to Instagram at Aaron Grubb Music, that's AARONGRUBB Music. From there you can do my Linktree link and find it everywhere. And you can also go to aarongrub.com. There I have my photos and video, and on the blog I have my music stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
And are you working on anything currently?
Just trying to build my music. I don't want to say library. That sounds like I'm listening to other people's music, but build my repertoire on, on Spotify, Apple, all those kind of things. And one thing I did forget to tell you is, did I tell you about that story I'm writing with my daughter and the picture series and all that?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so I am writing a story, a fantasy story, with my daughter, and there, if you go to @GrubbAaron on Instagram, you can find some of these pictures of this photo series we started. It's called Emberwood. Recently, as I was playing with some of this music, I started writing the Emberwood theme. So this is like a crazy project that I just thought of after I said I don't have any projects I'm working on.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, so I guess I'd call it a multimedia project.
Is it going to be a book or multimedia, like video?
Yeah, I've thought about this. I think I would like to release it as a paperback, like standalone thing, but I would love to make like this coffee table book with the pictures in it and stuff. But I mean, not many people are going to buy that, so it'd be for us.
Make one for you, yeah.
Yeah.
Use one of your wedding album companies and boom, beautiful book.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I just recently made a wedding. Well, I used a wedding album company that I use for albums, and I made one for all my cosplay work. Ooh. Like my most recent favorite cosplay photos. And I tell you, when I do wedding consultations or family session consultations, I try to get a feeling for how geeky they and or the husband or wife might be.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, hey, when we're done, check this book out. And they open up and their eyes light up because they see all their favorite characters. And it's so cool to see beautiful art in a nice book quality like that.
Okay, now you're giving me ideas. I got to do that because that is the direction I want to take my photography, is cool stuff like that.
Yeah. Nerdtography.
Yeah, nerdtography.
Well, that will be another episode. Maybe we'll have you back on. We can talk about that.
Oh, yeah. That'd be awesome.
Because you got a whole other side to you of the photo video we haven't talked about.
Yeah.
Well, Aaron, thank you so much for being on the show. It was a good one.
Yeah, I appreciate having me on.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Well, for anyone out there, we would love to hear back from you, our listeners. Please let us know what your favorite plugins are, whether they're free or paid, or if you checked out any of the ones that we suggested and that you fell in love with. You can tell us thank you. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll be with you next week. Bye.
Bye.
If you like this show, be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app. You can also find our previous episodes there and listen whenever you want. We love to hear from our listeners, so if you have any comments or suggestions for future episodes, you can reach us at tvvpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening and have a great week. Sorry, man, I'm so goopy today. What is going on?
I feel you.
I need some Drano or something.
Don't recommend it.